Boy, Mr. Ash, I really wish you'd share your sentiments with the Attorney General of the United States, because he's supposed to uphold the rule of law too. And I'm furious, and I think all Americans should be furious. So I hope you share some of those thoughts with the Attorney General. I want to start off by a couple statements, because I want to thank you all for being here. As I travel through every corner of my 40-plus thousand square mile district, I frequently hear accounts from constituents about the unintended consequences that the type of settlements we are talking about today have on local economies. I am pleased our committee is continuing to focus on sound science and transparency. But I see a disturbing pattern with this administration, not just with your agency, but across the board. Repeatedly, we are finding that the administration is using fuzzy, unverified, non-peer-reviewed science to justify a policy agenda. I'll give you just a few examples in my district. This committee has extensively investigated the administration's decision to withdraw over 1 million acres of some of the most rich uranium lands in our country from location and entry under the mining law. But the administration has a policy agenda and move forward. In our investigation, we found internal emails where a National Park Service employee stated that the draft EIS goes to great lengths in an attempt to establish impacts to water resources from uranium mining. It fails to do so, but instead creates enough confusion and obfuscation of hydraulic principles to create the illusions that there could be adverse impacts if uranium mining occurred. The hard science doesn't strongly support a policy position. The EPA is currently pursuing regional regulations on coal power plants in rural Arizona, the Navajo Generating Station, that is critical to water delivery in our state. They are imposing regulations that would require over $1 billion of investment under the guise of improving visibility at the Grand Canyon. Oh my God. But the administration's own REL states that there is no evidence that the required technology will lead to any perceivable improvement in the visibility of the Grand Canyon or the nearby parks or wilderness areas. As you may not know, I was a dentist for over 25 years in northern Arizona before I came to Congress. And as a medical profession, and I take your comments disparagingly, as a scientist, I have to use peer-reviewed science and certified best practices to treat my patients. If I don't use sound science, I'm going to hurt my patients, potentially lose my license. So I have to go to peer-reviewed studies. Yes, I use that innate knowledge, but I don't go to poets and philosophers for that information. And I think that would be the head of CBD, said I'm more interested in poets and philosophers than science guys. Go back, look up CBD, Center for Biological Diversity. You know, you're required to do statistics. Go back and do it. Mr. Ramsey, I'm concerned you didn't get a chance. You really wanted to answer Mr. Tipton's question in regards to it. Would you like to start by answering that question?
Let me just say that when I go to a doctor, and I think most people in this room have a very serious medical issue, you seek a second opinion. And when you go to get that second opinion, you bring the data with you. And that means you bring your x-rays and your medical records. You don't just go in and ask for an opinion.
So let me stop you there. So you start with a hypothesis, right? You got a problem, you test it, so you do investigation, you come with the conclusion, and then you go back and re-verify.
Correct.
Scientific method.
And you should be verifiable by outside independent third parties.
So, I mean, you see a problem here because we're not getting this data. Ms. Shea Porter brought it up, the lady across the aisle here. How do we remedy this? Because we are not, this isn't even close. I mean, this is just one tip of the iceberg kind of a problem. And I gave you two or three more in my state. Tell us, how do we remedy this, coming from your opinion?
It's very simple. Before the agency relies upon a study, the data has to be put into an archive. And by that data, we mean all the data and the methods that are used to produce the final data set used in analysis. It's as simple as that.
I mean, is this an unusual ask? I mean, when, you know...
No, and in fact, there's a reproducibility group at the University of British Columbia, Vancouver. They published a paper in the journal ARXIV out of Cornell University arguing that it's very simple for papers to be published and the data to be archived in these public repositories. National Science Foundation and others provide for Data Dryad to be an online service. It's easy to put the data in there. It is not a burden.
And so, I mean, I want to come back to this doctor thing.
I mean,
'cause it
we're
was used
hard
there.
on
I mean,
we're hard on the data in science, and hard on the issues. This is not personal disputes. It all comes down to what does the data show.
Thank you. I'm running out of time.